Victoria sat alone in her small apartment, scrolling through her phone with trembling hands. Every swipe brought a fresh wave of agony. Marcus and Selena at a charity gala, her in a shimmering gold dress, his arm wrapped possessively around her waist. Marcus and Selena at a yacht party, laughing as champagne sprayed into the air. Marcus and Selena at the opera, looking like they owned the world. She had never looked that happy with him, never glowed like that, never smiled so freely. The realization hit her like a knife to the chest. In all their many years of marriage, Marcus had never looked at her the way he looked at Selena in these photos, like she was the sun and he was merely a planet in her orbit. Victoria's hands clenched around her phone. That Maid, that scheming low-life Maid who she had once ordered around like a dog, was now living the life that should have been hers. Wearing designer dresses, attending exclusive events, sleeping in her bed. No, this couldn't stand. Victoria threw her phone across the room, watching it shatter against the wall. Her chest heaved with rage. She had been too passive, too shocked. She had let them win without putting up a real fight. But that was about to change. Victoria was never the kind of woman to back down quietly. And what she's about to do will leave you speechless. If you want to see how far she's willing to go, make sure you like, subscribe, and tell us where you're watching from. 3 weeks later, the announcement came. Victoria was having coffee with an old friend when her phone buzzed with a notification. She opened it and her blood turned to ice. Billionaire Marcus Hale announces engagement to former maid turned socialite. The article was accompanied by a photo of Marcus down on one knee, slipping a massive diamond ring onto Selena's finger. And there, in smaller text at the bottom, sources close to the couple reveal Selena is 1 month pregnant. Victoria's coffee cup slipped from her hand, crashing to the floor. Her friend gasped, but Victoria didn't hear her. All she could hear was the roaring in her ears, the sound of her world crumbling even further. Pregnant. She was pregnant with his child. The child Marcus had always said he wasn't ready for. And now, with her, he was ready. With that conniving little snake, he was building the family Victoria had always wanted. "I have to go," Victoria whispered, standing abruptly. She left the food on the table and walked out in a daze. By the time she reached her apartment, the daze had transformed into something else. Something cold and calculated. She wasn't going to lose. Not to her. Victoria sat at her desk and began to plan. She needed to move fast. Once they were married, once that baby was born, it would be nearly impossible to tear them apart. But right now, in this fragile space between engagement and vows, there was still time. She picked up her phone and composed a text message, her fingers steady despite the rage burning in her chest. Victoria typed, "Marcus, I saw the news. Congratulations on your engagement and the baby. I'm genuinely happy for you. I know things ended badly between us, and I take full responsibility for my part in that. I'd like to take you out to dinner to celebrate and apologize properly. No drama, no games, just closure. What do you say?" She hit send before she could second-guess herself. The response came faster than she expected. Marcus replied, "Thank you, Victoria. That means a lot. Dinner sounds good. When?" Victoria smiled, a cold, predatory smile. "Too easy." Victoria replied, "How about Thursday? 7 p.m. at Marcello's. My treat." Marcus replied, "I'll be there." When Marcus told Selena about Victoria's text, she was in the nursery, looking at paint samples. She turned to him, surprise written across her face. "She wants to apologize?" Selena asked, skepticism clear in her voice. "I know it's unexpected, but she seems sincere. Maybe seeing us happy made her realize it's time to move on." Selena studied him carefully. Part of her, the part that had orchestrated their entire relationship, recognized a player when she saw one. But another part of her, the part that had grown unexpectedly attached to Marcus, wanted to believe that her revenge had actually changed Victoria for the better. "Do you want to go?" Selena asked. "I think it would be good for closure, for all of us. I don't want bad blood between us, especially with the baby coming." Selena nodded slowly. "Then you should go." Marcus pulled her into his arms. "Are you worried?" she asked, looking up at him. "Never," he whispered, kissing her forehead. "You're the only woman I want, the only woman I'll ever want." Selena smiled, but as Marcus walked away, a flicker of doubt crossed her face. She shook it off quickly. She had won. Victoria was just trying to salvage her dignity. There was nothing to worry about. Victoria spent the next few days preparing. She researched, she planned, she made calls to old connections, people who owed her favors, people who would do anything for the right price. On Wednesday afternoon, she walked into a discreet pharmacy on the outskirts of town. The pharmacist was a man she'd known from her charity work, someone who had always been a little too eager to please. "I need something," she said quietly. "Something that would make someone disoriented, suggestible, but not dangerous." The pharmacist's eyes widened. "Mrs. Hale, I don't think—" $10,000, Victoria said flatly. "Cash, right now." The pharmacist swallowed hard. Then he disappeared into the back room. He returned 5 minutes later with a small vial. "2 drops," he whispered, "in a drink. It will take about 15 minutes to kick in. Causes dizziness, disorientation, increased body temperature, and suggestibility. Effects last 3 to 4 hours. But I never gave this to you." Victoria took the vial and slid an envelope across the counter. "You never saw me." The next stop was Marcelo's. She arrived 2 hours before her reservation and asked to speak to the manager. She explained that she was planning a surprise celebration and needed to ensure everything went perfectly. "I need you to assign a specific waitress to our table," Victoria said, sliding a business card across the desk. "Her name is Angela. Tell her there's $20,000 in it if she follows my instructions exactly." The manager's eyes widened, but greed won over ethics. "What instructions?" Victoria leaned in and whispered her plan. The manager hesitated for only a moment before nodding. Money talked, and Victoria had plenty of it, even in her reduced circumstances. Thursday evening arrived. Marcus dressed in a crisp navy suit and kissed Selena goodbye. "I'll be home by 10, he promised. "Have a good time," Selena said, though her stomach twisted with unease. "And Marcus, I love you." "I love you too," he said, his hand resting briefly on her still flat stomach. "Both of you." As his car pulled away, Selena stood at the window, watching until the tail lights disappeared. Marcus arrived at Marcello's at exactly 7. Victoria was already there, looking stunning in a burgundy dress, her hair swept up elegantly. She stood when she saw him, her smile warm and genuine looking. "Marcus," she said, embracing him briefly, "thank you for coming." "Of course," he said, sitting across from her. "I appreciate you reaching out." A waitress approached, young, pretty, with a nervous smile. "Good evening. Can I start you off with drinks?" "Scotch on the rocks," Marcus said. "White wine for me," Victoria added. "And please bring us a bottle of your best champagne. We're celebrating." The waitress nodded and disappeared. Victoria leaned forward, her expression earnest. "Marcus, I want to start by saying I'm sorry for everything. The way I treated you during our marriage, the way I treated your staff, the way I reacted when I found out about Selena. I was cruel and I was wrong." Marcus blinked, clearly taken aback. "Victoria, I appreciate that. I've had a lot of time to think, and I realized that our marriage had been dead for years.
We were both just too stubborn to admit it. You deserve to be happy, and if Selena makes you happy, then I'm genuinely glad for you." The waitress returned with their drinks and champagne. She set Marcus's scotch in front of him, and as she did, her hand trembled slightly. 2 tiny drops fell from her fingers into his glass, invisible in the amber liquid. Victoria caught her eye and gave the slightest nod. The waitress disappeared quickly. "That's very mature of you," Marcus said, taking a sip of his drink. "I wasn't sure how tonight would go, but I'm glad we're doing this." "Me too," Victoria said, raising her champagne glass. "To new beginnings, to happiness, to a better future." Marcus raised his glass, clinking it against hers. They drank. For the next 20 minutes, they talked like old acquaintances, business ventures, mutual friends, even some genuinely funny stories from their marriage. Marcus found himself laughing, surprised by how easy it was. "You know," he said, "I forgot how funny you could be when you wanted to be." "I forgot too," Victoria admitted with a sad smile. "I think I lost myself somewhere along the way, but I'm finding my way back." Then slowly, Marcus began to feel strange. His head felt heavy. The room seemed to tilt slightly. He blinked hard, trying to clear his vision. "You okay?" Victoria asked, concern evident in her voice. Yeah, I just feel a little off," Marcus said, rubbing his temples. "Maybe the scotch was stronger than I thought." "You do look pale," Victoria said, standing up. "Come on, let me help you. You shouldn't drive like this." "I'm fine," Marcus protested, but when he tried to stand, his legs wobbled. Victoria caught his arm, steadying him. "Let me take you home," she insisted. "I'll get your car tomorrow." Marcus wanted to argue, but his thoughts were getting fuzzy. Everything felt distant and dreamlike. He nodded slowly. "Okay, thank you." Victoria helped him to his car, her arm around his waist. She slid into the driver's seat and started the engine. But instead of heading towards Marcus's mansion, she drove in the opposite direction.
15 minutes later, she pulled into the parking lot of the Grand View Hotel, a luxurious 5-star property on the edge of town. She had booked the room that morning under a fake name. "Where are we?" Marcus mumbled, his words slurring slightly. "Almost home," Victoria lied smoothly. "Just need to get you inside." She helped him into the hotel, bypassing the front desk by using the private elevator she'd arranged access to. Once inside the suite, she guided him to the bed. Marcus collapsed onto the mattress, his skin burning hot. He pulled at his tie, trying to cool down. Victoria helped him, slowly removing his jacket, his tie, unbuttoning his shirt. "So hot," Marcus mumbled. "I know," Victoria murmured, filling a bucket of cold water from the bathroom. She dipped a towel in and began gently wiping his face, his neck, his chest. "I'm here. I'll take care of you." Marcus's eyes fluttered closed. His breathing was heavy. "Where is Selena?" he murmured. Victoria's jaw tightened, but she kept her voice soft. "She stepped out. She'll be back soon." "Okay," Marcus whispered, too disoriented to question it. Victoria continued to wipe him down, her movement tender and careful. Then she pulled out her phone and dialed Selena's number. When Selena answered, she simply placed the phone on the nightstand, speaker on, and made sure it was recording. "You know I'll always love you," Victoria said loudly, her voice dripping with emotion. "That's why I'm here for you." Marcus, barely conscious, responded automatically. "Thank you for showing me this care, even when no one was here. You'll always have a place in my heart." It was an innocent statement, meant for someone he believed was helping him out, but out of context, it sounded like a confession. Victoria smiled wickedly and ended the call. Then, she carefully positioned herself on the bed, laying her head on Marcus's bare chest. She held up her phone, angling it perfectly, and snapped a photo. The image showed her looking peaceful and content, her hair spilling across his muscled torso, his arms seemingly wrapped around her. She sent the photo to Selena with a simple message: "Some things never change." Miles away, Selena sat in the nursery, tears streaming down her face. She had heard everything: the sweet words, the intimacy in Victoria's voice. And then the photo had come through, destroying whatever hope she had left. Her hands shook as she stared at the image. Marcus and Victoria in bed together. Him shirtless, her dripped across him like they'd never been apart. "Why?" Selena whispered, her voice breaking. "Why now, at all times, that I'm pregnant?" She placed a hand on her stomach, feeling the tiny life growing inside her. This baby was supposed to be their future, their fresh start, and now it was all ruined. She couldn't stay here, couldn't face him, couldn't listen to his excuses or his lies. Selena grabbed the suitcase and began throwing clothes inside. Her vision was blurred with tears, her movements frantic. She wrote a note, her handwriting shaky. "Since your ex still has a place in your heart, I am taking my leave. It is the best decision for me and my baby. Don't look for me. Selena." She left it on the bed, took one last look around the room she'd shared with Marcus, and walked out into the night. When Marcus woke the next morning, sunlight was streaming through unfamiliar curtains. His head pounded, his mouth was dry, and Victoria was sitting in a chair across the room, fully dressed, sipping coffee. "Where am I?" he shouted, bolting upright. "What the hell happened?" "You fell sick at dinner. You were burning up and couldn't even stand. I brought you to the nearest hotel to take care of you. You were dizzy all night." Marcus looked down at himself, realizing he was shirtless. Panic flooded through him. "Did we?" "No," Victoria said quickly. "Nothing happened, Marcus. I just helped you cool down. You were talking nonsense all night. Something must have disagreed with you." Marcus didn't believe her, didn't trust her. He grabbed his shirt and jacket, stumbling towards the door. "I need to go home. I need to see Selena." "Marcus, wait." But he was already gone, running through the hotel lobby, his heart racing with dread. When he burst through the front door of his mansion, everything was too quiet, too still. "Selena!" he called out. "Selena, I'm home!" No answer. He ran upstairs, taking the steps 3 at a time. The bedroom door was open, and there, on the perfectly made bed, was a note. Marcus's hands trembled as he picked it up and read. The words hit him like a sledgehammer. "Since your ex still has a place in your heart, I am taking my leave. It is the best decision for me and my baby. Don't look for me. Selena." "No," he whispered, his voice cracking. "No, no, no." He pulled out his phone with shaking hands and dialed Selena's number. It rang once, twice, 3 times, then went to voicemail. "Selena, baby, please," he said, his voice desperate. "Whatever you think happened, you are wrong. I don't know what's going on, but I need you to call me back. Please, I'm begging you." He called again. Voicemail. Again. Voicemail. He tried 10 more times, each message more frantic than the last. His voice grew hoarse from pleading, from explaining, from begging her to just listen. But every call ended the same way, with that cold, automated voice telling him to leave a message. On the 13th call, his voice broke completely. "I love you," he sobbed into the phone. "I love you and our baby more than anything in this world. Please don't do this. Please don't leave me. I would never betray you. Never. You have to believe me. Selena, please, I'm losing my mind here. Just call me back, please." The voicemail cut him off. Marcus stared at the phone in his hand, his chest heaving. Then with a roar of anguish, he hurled it across the room. It shattered against the marble floor, pieces scattering everywhere, like his broken heart. He fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. This couldn't be happening. Not when he finally had everything he'd ever wanted. Not when he was about to be a father. Not when he had found the woman who made him feel truly alive for the first time in his life. His shoulders shook with sobs as the weight of it all crashed down on him. Selena was gone. Their baby was gone. Their future, the one he had been building in his mind, the nursery they'd been planning, the life they were supposed to share, all of it gone in an instant. And he didn't even know why. He looked down at the note still clutched in his fist, the words blurring through his tears. "You always have a place in my heart." What had he said? When had he said it? He couldn't remember anything after that dinner with Victoria. Just fragments, dizziness, heat, her voice distant and echoing. And then nothing. As he knelt there in that empty bedroom, surrounded by the shattered pieces of his phone and his life, one thought echoed through his mind with terrifying clarity. Victoria had won. And somewhere across the city, Victoria sat in her apartment, staring at the photo on her phone, Marcus unconscious, her head on his chest, and smiled. The game wasn't over. It had only just begun. Was Victoria right to fight back after being humiliated, or did her revenge go too far? Should Selena have trusted Marcus more, or was she right to protect herself and her baby? If you were in Marcus's position, how would you prove your innocence? Let me know what you think in the comments, and tell me where you are watching from. Please subscribe and like for more dramatic stories like this. Don't forget to share with friends. And remember, revenge might feel sweet in the moment, but it can destroy everyone involved, including yourself.